books. Infinite sources of knowledge available everywhere. Today I want to tell you about one of the most impactful books that I've read in my life. This is not the actual book, this is just an actor. The book's name is First Break All the Rules. And it's a book about management and leadership. But the underlying messages in the book can be applied to every domain in life. So don't let the title mislead you. The book covers 4 main points about management. One of the core ideas is that people leave managers, not companies. You can be in a fantastic company, but if the manager does not enable the person to work, to develop, to grow, then the person is likely to leave. On the other hand, if the company is bad, but surprisingly the manager is fantastic and we get along very well with him or her, then we are more likely to stay and to continue. So having said that, the 4 main elements that this book covers are talent. Talent relates to the ways that we used to think. The already existing paths, process of thought that we have embedded in our minds when facing a situation. For instance, a good driver. The book says that the driver pays specific attention to the elements in the environment, and the driver plays around those elements, which ultimately enables him to be very accurate, very precise when it comes to reflexes. So, choosing people for talent, for the way of thinking, cannot only be translated into performance in business. It can also be translated into how we see relationships. Ways of thinking are unlikely to change. The talent is unlikely to change because it's the way that we think, that we see things. And that relates to another point of the 4, which is it's very hard for people to change because change is uncomfortable. It requires a lot of energy and friction. So the book says people don't really change much. My personal take on that is that we can change. We can push ourselves to reach another version, a better one, for what we want. The person that we want to be. It's going to come at a cost, though. The third point is that we should define outcomes instead of steps of the process. Meaning that when we do a task, if we have the outcome specified, how we get to that outcome, it's up on us. Our imagination, our creativity to do that. Now, I appreciate that a lot of industries, like the one I'm in, aerospace, requires very precise processes to be able to deliver this outcome. However, when it comes to management, there is still this flexibility, this creativity, because every person, every individual is a world in itself. So how we manage an engineer might need to be different as how we manage a project manager, and so on and so forth. So, set outcomes, not specific steps to follow that outcome, to achieve that outcome. And then last but not least, focus on strengths. Learning and development usually focus on filling the gaps, strengthening those weaknesses. However, the book is pretty clear about that, saying it's fine to upskill specific elements of our profiles, but to the minimum required point. What we should do instead is focus on strengths and leverage on them, because the benefit of putting in place those strengths, utilizing them in our favor, is going to outperform the benefits of strengthening the weaknesses. And when focusing on the weakest members of a group, then the strongest ones might get neglected. So, making sure that we tailor our approach to manage strengths and weaknesses so that everyone gets treated as each individual deserves, to leverage on the strengths, to upskill what's needed, is what we would require to do to make the most out of our environment. And if I may add a personal point, having a positive attitude, an underlying positive attitude, and laser-focused attention in the task at hand can complement that and can increase the benefits exponentially. That is it for today. See you tomorrow.